C10 Talk, episode 137. A little bit of Paul Hitch, a little Cisco, and some odds and ends. House cleaning, catching up, announcements. Here we go.
80 years ago now, I graduated from GM Tech. 80 years ago. August 39.
Damn, son.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 Truck podcast. Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
Listen up, C10 Nation. We got a lot. We got a little. We got a whole bunch of catching up to do. So, last couple installments, I've been hanging out with my buddy Paul Hitch. Now, if you remember back a few episodes ago, Paul, 102 years old, and chief engineer from 64 to 76 for General Motors, Chevrolet Truck Division. So, I've been catching up with him. You know, it's just one of those things where every few weeks I'll get a chance to sit down and we connect, and I just push record. I went through most of it, well, pretty much all of it, and so there might be some spaces where you're like, well, what happened there? They kind of jump to this or jump to that. Sometimes we just go off on other little tangents, or we're just talking about random stuff, so some of that really probably has no interest of you or really just the audience from a listening perspective, so I clean it up. But nonetheless, it's just amazing because he's 102 years old. And for those of you that have children, you know, just as I, that when you get your kids to laugh, it's a great moment. And hearing Paul laugh at times when I do sit down and talk to him, it's invaluable. It's one of those things where it really makes me feel good. And to know that we're bringing this guy who was such an integral part of our scene in trucks, and we get a chance to sit down and talk to him. So you'll kind of hear some of that jumping around a little bit, but enjoy the content. Again, the guy's 102 years old. So Mr. Paul Hitch, always good to sit down and talk to him. Happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and obviously Monday being Memorial Day. Stay safe and just have a great weekend with your friends and family and whatever you might be doing. For us in Phoenix, school's out. School just got out today. So that's usually how Memorial Day works. Kind of one of those things where kids get out and weekend ahead. Got a little acceptance speech from Brandon Cisco. So Brandon was the recipient of the 2018 C10 of the Year. And I went up there probably, I think it was like right at the beginning of February. But because I've been sitting on it and I just didn't know when to get it in, I thought this would be a good kind of catch-up episode. So you'll hear a little acceptance speech from Brandon. The Truck of the Year. I mean, we're going to do that again this year. So if you're out there, please take the time to send me either an email or you can go on the website, c10nation.com, and you can leave a voicemail. It's off to the right. You just hit the button, and next thing you know, you chat away. Make sure your speaker's on. Chat away. And leave me a voicemail, and you can give me your input on the C10 of the Year. So the way that we kind of as a panel looked at it was, it's a truck that would probably be released or debuted mid-year last year, and then that goes up to SEMA 2019. So if you look at it as mid-year last year, goes through SEMA, or debuts at SEMA, and then goes up to 2019 SEMA, that's going to be the 2019 Truck of the Year. And then whatever debuts at SEMA this year will be, for 2020. So it's just one of those things where a lot of trucks get debuted or released at SEMA. So you're going to get most of the show coverage from the following year after the truck is released. So if you've got a truck out there, you've got a builder, I'd like to do not only a pro or a pro series style, but obviously a garage series too. So let us know. And you got to hit a show though. You can't just be SEMA and then that's it and the truck disappears. It needs to be out there. That was one of the things that we said, hey, you got to take your truck to a show. If it hits a show and it was debuted mid-year 2018, goes through to SEMA this year, it's a candidate for 2019 C10 of the Year. We want to continue that. I know it's clear as mud probably. So you can hit me up at Ronnie at C10 Talk, Ronnie at C10 Talk, or send me a voicemail. Let's see what else. Well, shows. Speaking of shows, let's go through some shows. Scraping the Coast, June 21st through the 23rd, Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Scraping the Coast. Then you got July 13th, we've got Southeastern Chevy and GMC Truck Nationals. That's going to be put on by our own Brian Ashley, C10 Club, Tennessee. So that's the 9th annual. That's in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, July 13th. July 19th through the 21st, Camp and Drag. That's in Indiana. Let's see here. Slamboree, August 2nd through the 4th. That's going to be in Shawnee, Oklahoma, Slamboree. Also, August 2nd through the 4th is going to be the Carlisle Truck Nationals. That's in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Talked about that last episode. Then on August 10th, you've got a little bit of a busy weekend there. You can either go to up in Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, Olympia, Washington. You've got the C10s at the Capitol there. That's going to be put on by Todd and Jen Manchester, PNW, so Pacific Northwest _C10. That's going to be Todd's, and all the details are there. August 10th, Olympia, Washington. Also August 10th, Southeastern Square Bodies in Dawsonville, Georgia. So you got Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and Dawsonville, Georgia. So you got some C10ville going on here. That's going to be August 10th. And then Slamley Reunion, August 18th through the 19th. That's in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Yee! Slosh Tubbs should be at that one because I know he lives in Arkansas. All right, so we got tons of shows. Get those trucks out there, have fun, and enjoy the weather. Hopefully you guys are having good weather. For us, we have great weather, but that's going to change here in Phoenix. So Memorial Day, Paul Hitch, Brandon Cisco, and the last thing I want to hit you guys up on is, see what you think about this. So lately on Instagram and through our scene, I see a lot of raffles. What is your thoughts on these raffles? I've been thinking about doing a show on raffles. Not going to hide it, I'm not a big fan of them. So I got into a good discussion with somebody who was doing a raffle, and he said, I can't believe you're not for these. They are good for the scene, and it allows somebody who might not own a C10 to own one. That is true, but it also puts out probably anywhere from 99 to 199 to, depending on how many raffle tickets they're putting off. Now listen, if they didn't sell, they wouldn't keep doing them. So if you guys love doing them and you like buying the tickets, then that's something that I need to be cognizant of, and I want to hear about it. But I just wonder what the thought is out there. If they're good for the scene, if they're bad for the scene. I don't think they're legal, but at the same time, there's plenty of illegal shit going on, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. I am probably going to call my accountant and ask him about it, just if we do a show. But I want to hear from you guys. Is that a show you'd want to hear? Maybe I get a guy who's way in on them. Maybe I get a guy who's way out on them. I try to stay somewhat unbiased. Not going to happen probably. And maybe do a little due diligence with an accountant. And obviously Google is a big help. I did look up Google a little bit, and it looks like they're not all that legal. I think it depends on the states. I think if you're donating the money or the profit, then it's a no-brainer. Then I'm behind it because it's for a good cause. But what I see is people trying to, whether it's sell a truck or raffle a truck for more than they could sell it for. So they are profiting. Now, if you were going to take the profit, I know, for example, Trey 5, Jeremy Rice, he did that with one of his cars. I think it was that little Mini. And he donated like $4 or $5 grand to one of his buddies who has a charity, a cancer charity. So if you're running it through a 501c3, that's a nonprofit situation. And do believe me, 501(c)(3)s can be a joke too. There's all kinds of different things going on, yada, yada, yada. Again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not the fun police. If you guys love them, then I want to hear about it. But when I see them continually pop up, I'm kind of like, really? And sometimes people reach out to me and they're like, hey, will you repost this? Very rarely do I repost it. Now, Mark Barbie just did one. Local firefighter. We're in the same fire department union, and he did it for a cause because literally 3 dudes, I know for a fact, 2 almost lost their life. I mean, one guy will probably never get on a fire truck again. Hopefully he does, but what I've been told is that it's going to be over a year before he even thinks about it, or potentially has to learn how to walk, so on and so forth. So, it's tough. I know Mark was trying to sell that truck for a long time, and maybe that worked out for, the best, because by not selling it, it allowed him to raffle it off. It allowed him to donate some money and donate some money to a good cause. again, if you're donating money, then I think it's a different situation. But if you're pocketing the money, and I'm not in on it. That's just, sorry. But we can agree to disagree. Let me know what you think. Send me an email, Ronnie at C10 Talk, or get on the thing here on the webpage, c10nation.com. Over to the right, dinky little thing, probably about 2-3 inches long, says send voicemail. You click it and you talk and you let me know what you think. If I play it and I put it on the pod, you're going to get a shirt. The guy that I played last episode, I sent him a shirt. He said, hey, I want you to interview this guy. Cool. Dude, if you take the time to do that and I play it, you're gonna get a shirt. So leave a rant. Let us know what you think. Maybe I'll put it on the air and we'll see what everybody thinks. But I wonder about doing an episode. I'll do the legwork. I'll dive in if that's what you guys want to hear. But I want to hear if that's just stupid and I'm an idiot and I'm wasting my time. And you guys think they're awesome and you're going to keep buying raffle tickets. Let me know what you think. All right, now that we got that out there, happy Memorial Day. Be safe. Do what you do. Please listen to the pod, share the pod, like the pod. Let me know what you're thinking. And we'll be back next episode with Mr. Kyle Oxberger, Metal Ox, the C10 surgeon, the one that can make you long to short, short to long, whatever you want to do. He's the man. He's here locally. I got to take some orange slice bedsides up to him, and we're going to start cutting and getting that truck ready. All right, guys. Have a great week. Do what you do. Stay out of trouble. Late. What up? All right. C10 Nation, a little, acceptance speech. So pretty cool. This is probably one of the coolest places I've ever done an interview. We are in the Barrett-Jackson, conference room. And what a cool room. So there is a Porsche in the middle of the room. And there's a glass table, and Brandon had something to do with building this. And then there's these race seats. It looks like there's probably anywhere from 14 to 18 race seats, including disc brakes on the seats and shifter knobs for the controls. But back on track here. I'm up here to give Brandon his award, and very well and very deserving award is the C10 of the year. So what we decided to do was reached out to 10 other guys all over the country. We came up with a list of 40 trucks, and then from there we made a top 10, and that top 10 was put out to you, the C10 Nation. You guys all got online. I didn't keep track of how many thousands there was, but there was a lot of votes, and the winner was Ghost, which was Brandon's Tahoe, not Blazer. So he works for Barrett-Jackson Garage. We're up here today, and we just gave you the award. What I know you were pretty stoked about it. What's your thoughts on winning the award?
The best thing about winning this award is it's awarded to me by my peers, which are by builders and by people that know what they're looking at. And to me, that means more than just the regular general public sometimes, because these people, they know what they're looking at, they know what they're looking for, and they can really appreciate the time and labor and thought and creativity put into a vehicle.
So we've had Brandon on his own episode. We've talked to you different times, and we're fortunate enough to talk to you at SEMA when you had Ghost there, which would be 2017. When you look back, and one of the things that I think is kind of just classic and funny now is how you were putting that. I felt like you were putting that thing together, like on the trailer on the way up there. And now you look back, you kind of go to the future. 2 years later, you're sitting here and life's pretty good, and you made it. And that build is getting a lot of praise and a lot of essentially showcasing what a lot of people already knew, but now the mass public and the social media world knows what Brandon Cisco, Barrett-Jackson Garage can do.
2 years ago at this time of the year, I hadn't even started on the truck yet, for one. So go see him, crunch, guys. I built the truck in about 6 months, most of the fab, and it showed up in Vegas with partially painted, partially cut and buffed, partially assembled, barely running, and the crew that helped me put that together, they all know who they are in Vegas. They really made it happen, and my wife bringing me interior and glass and parts in the back of my truck so we could assemble the truck inside the convention center was a turning point on the truck being finished So I'm just glad for all of that and all of my partners in the entire build. I think there was 20 or 25 different companies that helped me out on this, and without any single one of them, I couldn't have made it happen.
You know, you've gotten a lot of recognition, a lot of accolades from it. It showcases, you know, who you are, not only as a builder, but making it happen. And we're really stoked that you got it. Congratulations. And I do not think it will be the last one. That we want to keep this. It's cool. This is the first one. We want to keep this thing going for a long, long time. And for whatever reason, I feel like we might be back here. But enjoy this one. I know you will, and it's cool because there's a lot of people that, you know, put in a lot of time, nothing like you, but when you consider all the different builds, and there were some cool builds you were going up against. So it was kind of a, you know, to me, just one of those things to showcase what level you and Ghost really were.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to being a judge in this year's competition, hopefully. And then, so that leaves me open for next year. So watch out.
That was one of the things we told these guys. There was a couple guys that were, of course, I wanted to have them on the panel, but when you have a truck in the panel, you can't be on the voting, or a truck in the contest, you can't have it be on the panel. So Sam Castronova, Brandon, and I think there's another guy named Dell. I need to hit these guys up. So that's it for 2018 C10 of the year. We're here with Brandon, and we just want to thank you again for doing what you do and continue to build rad shit. Thanks, bro.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ronnie.
Late. C10 Nation, you've heard me talk about my gauges. Dakota Digital. I love them. Don't forget the interior of your build. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. Whether you want a direct fit into the stock bezel or something custom. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. The new RTX series is really incredible. I think it stands for retro, but it should stand for rad. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. You can change the lighting colors, customize the reading in the message centers, and do it all from the mobile app. That's right, the HDX and RTX series have Bluetooth technology, so you can mess with them from your phone. Just don't do it while you're driving. I mean, literally, I can have Yellowstone. I'm looking at RPM, trip odometer, percent fuel, oil pressure, and now I have the GPS set up. I can tell you direction, elevation, and even outside temp. Damn, son, it's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. And you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook too. Hey guys, I use precision replacement parts on my builds because I demand quality and I demand precision. If you want the best weather stripping, demand precision. PRP.com. It's that easy. PRP.com. Seriously, check this out. OEM designed parts. It's easy to install, and you have a lifetime warranty. Everything from windshield seals, rear window seals, door seals, roof rail seals, vent window seals, beltline molding, glass run channels, trunk seals, hood decal. You need it, they've got it. They also have their vent window refurbishing program. You send in your wing windows, and they send them back, and they're completely rebuilt, disassembled, sandblasted, painted, and they replace and install new weather stripping, new glass, and handles. Talk about quality, talk about precision, and that's why I use Precision Replacement Parts. PRP.com. And follow them on social media as well. How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Good. That's good. I just got back from Mississippi. I hadn't been that far east in a long time, so went out to Mississippi.
What were you doing in Mississippi?
Truck show. A bunch of guys got together. I'm still working on this setting here to try to find out why this camera's not working. A truck show. Guys got together, and I'm going into preferences for a crawfish cruise-in is what they call it, and the trucks are part of it, but it's kind of secondary. So the trucks is what gathers everybody together, but then the individual who hosted it, he has a big crawfish boil, and I really had never had any kind of exposure to that, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, do you see me?
Yes, I can, and I'm really trying to figure out why, because I have a camera that has worked just fine, so I'm not sure. I'm trying to go through. So here's displays.
I have C10 up in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to click on it to see if it helps any.
Yeah, some reason it says no device found. Learn more about fixing this issue. So I'm going to click on that now, and I've got you here perfectly. So I'm not sure. Let me go into my settings on my computer.
Okay.
Now, how has everything else been?
Well, everything's going pretty good here.
Good. You recover from your party and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Good. You feeling pretty good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Oh, that's great. I tell you what, I've had quite a bit of questions about the interview, and people have really enjoyed it. A lot of people just, inspiring to hear some of the stories. And and then of course more questions come up from that, which is really kind of funny. I'm going to go into general settings here. That's not going to be it. So how's Doug been?
Well, he's doing pretty good, I think.
Okay, good.
He's getting me a new computer.
Oh, what are you going to get?
An i5. He had it.
Okay.
So he's going to give it to me. So
what else have you been up to?
Oh, I don't do very much, Ronnie.
Yeah, I remember you saying you don't do much, but it takes you all day to do it.
Yeah. I spent all day doing my laundry.
Okay, that's good.
Tuesdays a day I do laundry.
Okay, good. Now, I think you said you exercise on Wednesdays and Mondays and Wednesdays?
Monday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Sometimes Friday.
Well, what do you do when you exercise?
Oh, it's, I don't know what you call it. It's mainly stretching. Mm-hmm. Stretching and balance.
Okay, yeah. I would call that core exercises.
Yeah, we need a lot of balance.
Yeah. Have you had any balance problems, equilibrium problems?
No, I don't have any real problem.
Good. Because I'll tell you right now, in the fire department, the falls are what really start to hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what'll really.
Yeah, when you have two falls, you'll be in bad shape.
Yeah, it's all about those hips,
Yeah.
So all in all, though, you've been pretty good.
Yes. No, I'm doing real well.
Good.
Everyone here wonders why I look so good.
Yeah, you look great. Now, I don't think I really did talk to you after. Did you end up listening to the interview? It was okay. It met your.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've listened to all of it.
Oh, good. That makes me proud and happy that you enjoyed it.
The only thing I'm disappointed in is the reviews that Chevrolet's getting today. They're not as good as Ford.
That you say that is very true. I will be honest with you. The new Ford and the new Dodge are getting, especially the Ford. People are really liking or gravitating towards the way that they look, Yeah. But I think when Chevrolet has their new truck, which they just released, I think it'll grow on us. I'm hoping that it will. So when new trucks come out, they might be met with not quite the rave review, and then hopefully over time they grow on us, and we start to accept and or like that body style or those trucks.
We have the new heavy duty pickup in the dealerships here.
Yeah, did you check them out? Have you been able to see them online?
Yeah. Well, no, I saw them. I went to the dealer and saw them.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who takes me around town.
That's good. Did you like it? Did you?
Yeah, it looks real good, I think.
Yeah. Well, I will say the HD, and the GMC, for some reason, maybe the way that they're doing their front end and their grille tends to look a little better or a little tougher than the Chevrolet. So that's another thing that Chevrolet is kind of, I think, working through. And I tried to talk to Eric a little bit about that, but because Eric works for Chevrolet, he couldn't really comment because there wasn't a GMC individual there to, comment as well.
Yeah.
When did they separate that? When you were there, part of your interview, when I interviewed you, it was that you guys were kind of one and the same. Did they eventually separate the two companies?
I don't know. We had responsibility for Chevrolet and GMC. And so we did all the design work. Yeah.
And then I remember you saying that the light truck was your responsibility, but the big trucks were more on their responsibility.
Well, they had the above the 60 series.
Okay. 60 and above?
Well, we had the 60.
Oh, okay. One of the questions that really has been flooding in, or a few, now I'm going to tell you kind of a funny story, and I don't know if you guys cross paths. I would assume that you have, but this is, quite frankly, why we're so lucky and blessed to have the interview with you and you and your time. But another individual that I really worked very hard on trying to gain access to is a guy by the name of Harry Bradley Bentley, and he's a designer for Chevrolet, especially that 67 to 72, and then he went to work for I guess Mattel or Hot Wheels, and I found him and I reached out to him, but he declined. He didn't want to do the interview.
Oh,
did you ever do you remember him?
What's his name?
Harry Bradley Bentley.
No,
he's more of a designer and kind of
I knew most of the stylists.
Yeah, he was. I'll send you maybe an article and you can read about his time with Chevrolet. But he was definitely what I would say kind of ahead of his time, and he drew a lot of different. You could see different renderings and different things that he had drawn, especially the style of the 67, 68 truck.
It seemed like to me that he was associated with somebody that made models.
I believe he did that, and then he left General Motors, which would have been probably right at the very end before the 73 style truck that you're so involved with. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that kind of played a part in that or not.
Mike Lathers did the design work on the 73 truck.
Yeah, and that was cool. You talked quite a bit about that truck. We talked about it, but that truck changed a lot, from how it kind of looked like a Ford or a Dodge, and then what you guys have today. The 73 is very unique in its styling.
Mike Lathers, he died as a young man, so he's not around.
What about Vic Hickey? That was a big thing that was brought up about the Blazers. Did you have any involvement with Vic?
Oh, yeah. I used to visit him. We'd ride motorcycles together.
Oh, I didn't know you rode motorcycles. Wow.
No, I'm not really, but Vic is, and so whenever I visited, we had to ride.
So did he have a big part? I think you might even mentioned it, or somebody I read online that he might even coined the term and kind of been responsible for calling it a Blazer.
Well, he got a copyright on the name of Blazer.
Now, how does that work? If General Motors has the Blazer and he got because he was working for General Motors at the time?
Yeah, he was. He worked in the Chevrolet research section.
Wow.
And when we started working on the Blazer, he went out and copyrighted the name right away.
That would be a conflict of interest. I don't know how you could be getting paid by General Motors or by Chevrolet, and then you went out and did that, but I'm sure that made them probably mad.
I think GM paid him $50,000 for it.
Oh, I see. So they bought it from him.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's funny. He had the name even back then. Now, he was definitely an off-road mogul, somebody who, even to this day is known throughout, some of the aftermarket products that he's made for the Blazer, the Jimmy, the Bronco, and the different off-road, trucks and Jeeps and everything that was going on back then.
Well, he raced motorcycles.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So you had exposure to not only Vic Hickey, but you also with Mickey Thompson. So that's some legendary friends you were associated with.
And Mickey Thompson was murdered, you know.
Yeah, what a tragic ending to, and it doesn't even make sense. You know, it was him and his wife, right?
Yeah, they're coming out of their house, and this fellow was a partner with him in business. So I don't know what happened.
You know, as I'm thinking about it, one of the things that I did read about Harry Bradley Bentley, again, I'm going to continue to try to get an interview with him. He lives in Northern California. Well, I shouldn't even say that, but I know where he lives, and I believe he was. I know he was. I read this that he was involved with the first smaller style Blazer, and then you guys, you had mentioned you left the meeting and you guys changed. And went with the C10 styling because of the ability to stamp that, the tooling.
Well, I don't recall that at all.
Yeah, I'll find an article and send it over to you because I know of a few that I've read that he was. I even have seen kind of a cartoon that shows the rendering of that smaller style Blazer that he drew. Yeah. That he drew. I'll find it and send it over to you. You can read it and pull it up. You can pull it up on your new computer when Doug gets it to you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other truck stuff that one of the things we talked about was how the 73 got delayed, instead of being a 72. But it's cool because the 72 is an iconic truck of the older style. So it's crazy to think that if we could change the things that we know and have become normal or normalcy for us with the trucks, some of the different things that you guys did back then.
Well, it was a lot of fun working then, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I just wrote an article talking about if we could go back and change, would we? And some of the things would be, for example, those 73 dash pads, they tend to crack a lot. And, those hoods, if you remember, you probably had, a lot of influence on this, but that hood will bend because, I was told or later read that it was because of front impact. You guys put some creases in there, and now people won't lube those hinges, and then they go to shut that hood, and that hood will just crease.
Yep, that's right.
So do you remember any part of that? Or did they say, hey, we need to figure out a way to make sure this hood doesn't decapitate somebody or hurt somebody?
No, I don't recall that, Ronnie.
Yeah, I wonder how that all kind of evolved. But it's back
then we put wrinkles in the frame so that they would crush, and that was the biggest thing we had on the safety end of it.
What do you think about today? How safe cars are?
They're pretty good.
Yeah, it's remarkable compared to the crumple zones. And as an engineer, do you get do automotive companies really look to like I always kind of think or perceive the obviously the crash test dummies and the crash test that go on, but NASCAR, I feel like NASCAR has an ability in their technology and their roll cages and the way that those guys at such high speeds are crashing.
Well, have you seen the dummies they have today?
I mean, I don't know that I would know exactly. I just think of a crash test dummy. I don't know. So no, I don't have an update on that.
There's a company in the suburbs of Detroit that makes them, and I had an article here on them recently. And boy, they are really complicated.
Computerized?
Yeah.
So they probably obviously articulate a lot of information back to the computers, and they can. What about the first dummies? Did they even have anything? Did they even have any kind of, or did they just have like a way that you guys could pull them out, or the different trends could? What did they get from the first ones that you recall?
Just little visible things that didn't have any electronics in it.
Yeah, I almost wonder about that. If it was something that it would almost just be like a little sticker or something that might, whether it took a certain, impact, because, like in the fire department, we have little stickers on our ladders, and if it gets too hot, then it changes a color or a shade, and we know that it needs to be retested.
Well,
For an engineer, do you feel I'm kind of more of a tell, show, do? So you tell them, you show them, and then you do it. I've got to have my hands on it. Do you feel like, were you always that way?
Well, I was raised in Indianapolis, and of course, Indianapolis was an automobile town. And there were a lot of automobiles manufactured in Indianapolis years ago, and then, of course, the Speedway. I was interested in the Speedway. So those two things formed my life.
Yeah. Did you ever go to the 500 or different races there?
Oh, yeah. Well, when I was young, you could go to the trials. You could walk around through all the garages and talk to the fellows, and there's no restrictions at all.
Oh, I bet you have some amazing memories of that time.
Yeah.
And General Motors seemed to have, quite a few, whether it was through the pace cars or even the tow trucks. They were always, it seemed like Chevrolet was involved with the Indy 500 or the Speedway in some form.
Yes. It didn't have any financial connection with it. But before my time, well, not before my time, they've had quite a few pace cars since my time.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite driver during your, during the time where you were kind of either participating or you were there? Do you have a driver of your era that you really liked?
Well, Maury Rose worked for me.
Oh, okay.
And of course, then Vic Hickey, he was a motorcycle racer.
So did Vic race at Indianapolis too as a racer?
No.
No,
he wasn't involved there.
No. I always think of AJ Foyt, but that's more of my time. Or Rick Mears, Mario Andretti.
Oh, they're famous, yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that always come to my mind, and I just can't even imagine going around a track at 200 miles an hour. The G-force that it must pull on your body.
And the way they survive crashes today is amazing.
Yeah, and then you think of, the legendary Dale Earnhardt and somebody who'd been through so many crashes, and then unfortunately just, the wrong impact and changes history.
Oh, you bet.
So when you look back, you're sailing and did you do any kind of racing at all when you were young?
Well, just in sailboats.
Yeah.
Not in automobiles.
You know what's remarkable nowadays? There's guys trying to go over 200 miles an hour in a C10.
Oh.
Can you imagine?
No.
Well, I think what people do is, even though they call it a C10, it's still, the way that they're building these trucks, underneath, it might be wrapped in C10 metal, but there's so many different builders and extraordinary builders. And one of the guys we happen to interview, a few of the guys we've interviewed are doing these things, but one guy has taken a kind of a flat track race car and he wrapped it with C10 metal. You've got C10 monster trucks. You've got C10 trucks that they're trying to go over 200 miles an hour in. And but because people love the styling and the lines of it, so then they engineer their own entity of, fabrication of a frame, suspension, power, drivetrain, and then they're form fitting or wrapping metal around it, and it'll look like a C10. I'll send you a picture. I'm writing it down, all the stuff I got to send you, of a race truck. It's a C10 race truck that was at SEMA this year. And he got, I think before he got to SEMA, he didn't have quite the following that he definitely does now, because once people saw his truck and the look of it, he kind of did if you think about the old Richard Petty, the 43 style of car, he did that same style of kind of a wrap, an automobile wrap, and he did that on there, and it really stood out. The truck really stood out. He calls it it's kind of a race truck.
Oh, I'm embarrassed, but here on my desk, I've got a Ford model.
I saw that.
A friend of mine, she thought I worked for Ford, so she sent me that. And then I started, in my time, Gail Beardsley was the chief engineer at Ford, chief truck engineer, and Harvey Pickford was the chief Dodge truck engineer. And we ended up, all three of us, living here in Savannah.
You were saying that you guys all sailed together.
Yeah, we sailed together, yeah.
Isn't that crazy that three guys from different worlds collided into sailing?
Yeah.
Now, where did they grow up? Were they Michigan boys, or were they Indianapolis boys, or farm boys?
They were Michigan fellas.
Well, now you grew up in Indianapolis, you moved to Detroit, and you're in Savannah now. What's your favorite region of the United States, or what was your favorite where you lived?
Well, I've lived here now 40 years.
Oh, I didn't know you'd lived there that long.
Yeah, I moved here when I retired. And my wife was from Savannah, but I took her away for 46 years. But no, this is a real nice area. Great for fishing, and there's still quite a bit of wilderness along the coastline. So it's a real nice place to live.
How's the cost of living out there?
It's relatively cheap.
Good. Yeah, well, I told you earlier I was just in Mississippi, and I feel like that was pretty cheap there too.
Yeah, that'd be about like what we are.
Do you think that they'll kind of Michigan is kind of trying to become reborn? Do you think that that'll happen? Do you think that they'll build it back up? It had such a heyday in the 60s and 70s, and I feel like the 90s and early 2000 it really.
It's going to be a different city.
Yeah.
But I understand now they're building a skyscraper, so banks are putting money into Detroit.
Good. I just read an article the other day, I think it was in USA Today, about how, General Motors is doing really well now after you look back at the bailouts, 10 years ago, and they're doing well. They're alive, and it was a scary time.
I've wondered, some people have asked me, well, they've told me that General Motors didn't pay back their debt. Well, I thought they did.
They did. I was told that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I was told that they did, and I've got some Ford friends that call it government motors, so they say GM is government motors.
I didn't finish my story. What I wanted to do was have a good model of the Ford and a good model of the Dodge Ram, and put a story together here on my desk about the three fellows.
Yeah. So do you need us to send you a Ford model and a Dodge model? Yeah. All right, I'll talk to Doug. We'll see if we can't get you some stuff put together, and you could kind of articulate a story. That truck that you just held up, that 2018, a lot of people, myself included, I think it has a lot of square body lines to it. It has the kind of the bigger wheel wells, and they really changed things up for the 19 and the 20s, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, in my day, the styling people didn't want curves. They wanted all flat panels. That used to cause us a lot of problems. Oh, I bet. Yeah, you mentioned that. One of the things, do you ever remember the yellow stripe on the, I wouldn't think this was something that the engineers would even think about, but in 1977, General Motors put a yellow stripe on their trim. So on the square body truck, the rounded line, in 77, just like you guys did in 73 and on up, inside that trim, they put a yellow paint in there, but it was only a 1-year thing. And I was wondering why, if you had any recollection of why they might have done that. I have no idea, because I was in England then. Yeah, that's what somebody asked me, and I said, well, that wasn't even he wasn't in the styling department or painting department, but they did it, and they did it for 1 year, and it really adds to the contrast of the vehicle, and you'll definitely walk up to a truck or even a Blazer, or a Jimmy, and you'll see that yellow, and you'll right away you'll say, well, that's a 77. I can tell just because of that one color.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I'll send you some more. You're gonna have a lot of pictures in your email. So I got race truck, I got the article on Harry, and then I've got the yellow trim, 77 trim. There's an aftermarket company called Marquet Quality Parts, and they're in Oklahoma, and they make everything, including their tooling, in Oklahoma, and they make the trim, and they're going to make a special just 77 year just to have that color on there.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
I'm going to get a magazine here.
Okay, automotive engineering.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you stay up to date? I mean, that's probably pretty intense.
Yes, it's a real good magazine.
If you had to pick, what company or what style of engineering are you really enjoying today when you think about reading through that magazine?
Still
automotive?
Yes. There was a story about Ford. They've made a soundproof room that'll take a truck or a passenger car, and they've done a lot of work on making them quiet. So that's one article in here that caught my attention.
Ford is bringing back the Ranger, the Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're. It seems like these manufacturers are scaling back the passenger car stuff, and they are starting to up the SUV smaller truck stuff. I know Chevrolet and GMC are doing really well with their Colorado and their Canyon, their smaller line of truck.
There's a story on the new Chevrolet.
Oh, I'm going to have to pull that one up. There's the boss.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the 2020 will do, the HD is going to do pretty good. The 19, which is going to be the half-ton stuff, it doesn't seem to be, the response hasn't been that great. But I've seen some aftermarket stuff where people are, jacking them up and they're changing a few things, and they look a lot better than when they first were released. I think some of the body lines.
And in this article, they say that they brought back the small block V8. They modernized it.
Okay. I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things the C10 guys do now is they take the motor, which is considered an LS, and they're taking those motors and they're putting them in the old trucks.
Oh.
Because the Chevrolet still to this day is second to none when it comes to the motors. So that LS motor, which is going to be, primarily your 99 to 09 style of truck, and that LS motor is proven, and you can put high mileage on it. So when you find one that's got 150,000 miles on it, they can go to the wrecking yard, they can buy it. Now they have to rewire it, and obviously it's computerized versus mechanical, but you get a brand new truck out of the deal, but you're having the C10 body panels surrounding that motor.
That small block went from 265 to 400 cubic inches.
Were you involved with that at all? Did you talk to those guys when they were doing the, remember when it went to the 350 and then the 400?
Oh, yes. Ed Cole and Harry Barr designed that engine. And I worked for Ed Cole. Yeah.
What do you think about the 400? It didn't have they seemed to, the 400 small block, they definitely didn't run that long. Seemed like it was not a lot of room between those pistons.
No, it didn't have any cooling between the pistons. Just solid iron between them.
Another thing that I wonder if you recall this at all, but so Chevrolet in the 71 and the 72 trucks, they put the 396, but they called it the 400. And what I've been told is they were bored over 396s. They were bored over 30 over, and they were a 402. On the badge of the vehicle or the Chevrolet truck, it would say 400. And they said they were just leftover 396s, and then they put them in the trucks because you couldn't get a 454 until 73.
Well, the 396 was the new engine, as I recall, and one of the main things it had was a 4-volt main bearings, and it was really designed for the pickup truck.
Okay. Strong motor, and then you guys ended up getting the big block, the 454.
Yeah.
For your 73.
Yeah. That was designed by Don McPherson.
Well, probably one of the most legendary motors ever built.
Yeah, that was a real heavy-duty engine.
Well, I've got one. I've got a few of them in my different. I've got two that are in my drivers, and they, you know what they like? They like fuel.
Yeah.
But they do like to run hot too. They seem to run better warmer than something, in the 180s or 190s. They seem like when they're at 200, they run just fine, and they're happy about that.
Well, that was designed basically for the C60 truck, the 2-ton truck.
Did you guys use 427s back then too for those big trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot to choose from with the 396, the 427, the 454, and then if you remember, then they went to the 502, and then they went to the 572. You talk about a big motor. That's a huge motor. A lot of horsepower.
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
Yeah, that one was. I remember on a TV show they put one in a C10. That was an aftermarket that you could buy. General Motors would let you buy that, and some guys would buy it and from Performance, their GM Performance, and they could buy it crate motor and then put it in their truck or whatever they were building. Well, I'm gonna get you. I got a Ford model, a Dodge model. I need to talk to Doug, and then I'm gonna send you some stuff on these other trucks and these other articles that I was telling you about.
Okay, good.
I'll email them to you. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I'll get my camera thing figured out, and then we'll talk again in a week or two.
Okay.
Okay. Have a great day. Have a great week, Paul.
All right, same to you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir. Bye-bye. Classic Performance Products, CPP, has a few new products out. Let's start with their new HydroStop Street Beast hydraulic assist systems. CPP's HydroStop Street Beast is a direct fit, high-performance hydraulic brake assist system that works great when running a performance engine setup and there is not enough vacuum produced to operate a traditional booster. Simply plumb into your power steering system and share the fluid reservoir with your power steering pump to your high-performance brake system. Assembled with all new parts, this unit puts out an amazing 1800 PSI at the wheels. How about their new 14-inch big brake kits? CPP now offers a 6-piston, 14-inch big brake system for your Chevy truck, featuring 2-piece pre-assembled drilled, slotted, and zinc-coated rotors, 6-piston billet aluminum calipers with DOT-compliant dust and weather seals, premium stainless hardware, and braided stainless brake hoses. These brakes work with their modular and Corvette-style spindles. Remember, use C10 Talk at checkout and save 10% off your order. Damn, son, 10%? www.classicperform.com. Hey guys, I've been buying my truck parts from brotherstrucks.com for over 20 years now. These guys just aren't selling parts. They build trucks. They have their own trucks. They attend shows. They're part of our community. I saw Jim Flanders at C10's in the Park in Texas and also at Dino's Get Down out here in Arizona. And that's why I continue to buy my parts from Brothers. One thing I remember Jim Flanders saying when I interviewed him for the podcast: when we buy parts, we buy the best parts possible so that you, the consumer, will get the best parts possible. Sure, they have the opportunity to buy a lesser made, lesser quality part, but they know that it's going to you, the C10 Nation. So when you buy your parts from brotherstrucks.com, rest assured you're getting the best part possible. So when you're looking to restore your 1947 through 87 Chevy or GMC truck, go to brotherstrucks.com. That's brotherstrucks.com. Remember last time you couldn't see me. Hopefully you could see me this time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, yeah, I had to adjust that a little bit. Something was up with my laptop, so I wasn't sure what was going on.
Oh. Yeah, well, Doug got me a new computer, so I got everything working pretty good now.
Good, good. It's probably a little frustrating going through and getting a new computer all set up.
Yeah, it is. But I got all my programs back in, and they're all working. How's the weather out there?
Oh, it's windy as windy can be for Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is usually pretty hot in May, and it has been amazing, like really, really beautiful. The temperature's low. Now, I took my Yellowstone, my camper truck, up to the mountains, and it snowed on us, of all things, in Arizona in May.
Right?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. I'll email you a couple pictures. We got a little bit of snow in May in Phoenix. Now that's up in the mountains, about 5,000 feet, so a little higher elevation.
Yeah.
How about in Savannah, Georgia?
Well, we've had wonderful weather, but this weekend is supposed to go to 100.
Wow, so you're at 100 in Phoenix. We're not even going to be close.
Yeah.
That doesn't make that's ass backwards.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my goodness! How was your meeting this morning? You had a group meeting?
Yeah, we have every Wednesday we have a meeting, but we have two fellows now that in the hospital. So we have 12 fellows because that's all the room will seat, and so now we got two in the hospital, and I don't know, two were missing. So we only had, 8 people.
Yeah. Now, is it just a senior men's group that you guys talk about senior men stuff?
Yeah, nothing informal. It's all informal. We call it a Romeo group, but we don't stick to Romeo procedures.
Now, what's Romeo? Is that an
Retired old men eating out.
Retired old men eating out? Okay, Romeo. Now, what's your favorite food, Paul?
Favorite food?
Yeah, when you get to go eat out, where do you like to go eat out?
Well, today we had a turkey burger, but I'm not very fussy, and I don't go out very much. And as long as I didn't fish, I can't eat fish.
Are you allergic?
Yeah.
Well, you were a sailor, but you're allergic to fish.
Yeah. Yeah, lived on the water all my life.
How about like tacos and stuff like that? Pizza, tacos, hamburgers? You got anything that's a favorite?
Yeah, no, nothing favorite. I eat everything. I eat jalapenos.
Yeah, that's good.
They say they're good for you. So,
well, out in Phoenix, obviously we have I think about every other meal has a jalapeno in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like some spicy food out here for sure. I remember one time I went back to Wisconsin, and my buddy said, "Well, we're going to go eat at this, Mexican food place." And I said, "Why are we eating Mexican food in Wisconsin? We live in Phoenix. We should be eating cheese curd and brats in Wisconsin." And sure enough, we went to the Mexican food place, and their salsa was more like tomato sauce than anything, but it was kind of ironic.
Yeah. I'm having trouble. My camera keeps falling off.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I could see that. It kind of dipped down a little bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you this, and I'm going to send you one, but one of the groups made a coloring book, and this is their second one, and it's all old C10 trucks. So they make it, and you submit your truck, and then they sell them for probably just as much for adults as kids. But so you've got all these C10 trucks, and you can color them. And again, I think they do it, we use the excuse for the kids, but the adults and the guys like it just as much. So I'm going to send you one of these to check out.
Okay, good.
And then I got another thing that I wrote a little bit of an article in, kind of a little bit about you. And so I'm going to send you one of these too. At the back, give you something to read and kind of check out. At the back, it talks a little bit about, essentially, if we could go back in time and fix some of the things that we deal with now, but we shouldn't, because those things that we deal with make for good stories.
Yeah, right.
So I'll send you one. I'll get both the coloring book and that latest. It's called the C10 Builder's Guide. I'll get that sent out to you.
All right. Chevrolet is not getting very good write-ups on the C10 truck, Silverado.
Yeah, on the new Silverado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that a little bit. I just talked to a friend of mine. He traded his I think he had a 2014, maybe he was a 2012 Silverado, and he sold it, and he's going to buy a Ford. And he's a C10 guy, but he wants that more power, and he wants that new Ford. So, we'll see. I've been seeing a lot of the 19s drive around in Phoenix, so hopefully the numbers are looking okay.
Yeah, that used to be good Chevrolet country.
Well, yeah, especially the proving grounds and everything else. Every time I drive around out here, I think of you, and I we go right by the old proving grounds all the time. I was just out there yesterday.
And what's out there?
Well, now they have, I went out there yesterday for a golf thing. Once a year, we do a golf thing for work, and just south of the proving grounds, the old proving grounds, and the Air Force Base is a little golf course out there in Queen Creek. Now, that little town, you had said you'd remember there was a guy up at the base of the mountain. Now, that little town, it definitely has grown. I lived out there for a while, and now it's probably almost 50,000 people, whereas when I lived out there, I think we started about 6,000 or 8,000, and it steadily has grown. It's got to be one of the biggest in the country or fastest growing zip codes. That whole area south of the base, they have a freeway that goes right to the old proving grounds, and then there's a neighborhood there now.
Oh, the highway goes through the proving ground?
It goes right to it. It stops at Ellsworth Road, which was the big road, if you remember, to the west, and that new highway or freeway goes right to the edge. It goes right to you, and then there's a big neighborhood in there now, huge master plan community.
Yeah, I haven't been there for years.
Yeah, somebody had sent me. Let me see if I can find this while I got you on here. I should have had this drawn up, but I'll be doing it here simultaneously. I try to think how he sent it. I don't think he sent it under his. One of the guys had found an article a little bit about what you and I were talking about the guy at the base there. And if you remember, I used to hike that, and they have 2 grave sites there. And one of them was saying, sure enough, that he said, hey, look this up. This is one of those things where you and Paul were talking about it. So let me kind of, in the back here, I'll kind of pull this up and see if I can find it where he linked it over to me.
Yeah, I used to go out there and sit and talk to him. He was an interesting fellow.
Okay, here, I got it here. So a guy named Dave said it to me. So I'm going to kind of read it to you here. Santan Mountains carry mysterious human legacy. It goes on to say, curious visitors, the General Motors Proving Ground in Mesa started testing vehicles by driving them up the mountain, and it appears that they started using the area as a car burial site. After large amounts of rain, modern-day visitors have been known to come across bumpers, wheels, or dashboards that wound up in the wash. Some of these miners took to caring about the land and started protecting it. The most famous of the park's founding fathers was Mansell Carter, known as as the Old Man of the Mountain. He became a tourist attraction in himself, and he died only a year after his beloved wilderness became a protected regional park in 1986. Throughout it all, mystery has remained a common theme for this area. Even the origin, the name Santan, isn't known for sure. Burnell said one of the theory is that there was a postmaster in the early days with the last name of Santan. And then it just kind of goes on to talk a little bit about the area. So I just wondered if that was the guy you were thinking. There was 2 guys. So this is saying Mansell Carter, and then Old Man of the Mountain.
Yeah, Carter was the one that I knew.
Yeah, that's him.
Birds flew in and out of his shack, just like he was sitting there, and birds would fly in and sit on his shoulder. They wouldn't pay much attention to him.
Wow. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy that when you would come out to visit, you would go up to the mountains there.
Yeah.
So for the listener, where the GM Proving Grounds in Phoenix, outside of Phoenix in Mesa, there was just this huge, proving ground, and then Williams Air Force Base was just south of it. Yep. And at the time, back in the 70s, it was very isolated, like Air Force bases were. And then you'd go probably about 10 miles further south, and you have, I don't know if I'd really classify them as mountains, but they're hills when you consider like the Rocky Mountains or something, but they're hills. And now it's kind of been turned into a regional park. So you can't drive up it like you used to be able to in the 70s, and probably even in the 80s, where there was tracks where people would drive. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. we never, as a kid, I never went into the Santan Mountains, but there was other hills and areas in Mesa that we would go off-roading as kids and, let's go have a bonfire, stuff like that. So I think a lot of the trails that they're talking about, and even to say that General Motors put, bumpers or dashes, that's usually kids or young men out there four-wheeling, tearing stuff up, and then they just leave everything because in that area, Paul, they're really cleaning it up because they have to, because that property has been turned into homes, but there's a lot of shooting sites too. So people will shoot up into the mountain and you'll have shells and you'll have casings and, stuff like that. So that kind of goes hand in hand. And then when it'll rain, all that stuff goes into a wash because we're in the desert. When it rains pretty hard and everything just accumulates into the wash. So they've turned that area into quite the little regional park. They've got different trails and they have isolated that little grave area for the two prospectors, mountain men. I can't remember the other guy's name offhand, but that's pretty crazy that a listener sent me that. He lives out there. I remember that he lives out there and sent that on over. So that was him, Mr. Carter.
We used to go further out in the desert, and there's a lot of old mines further out. When you would throw something down the mine, and boy, you'd hear the rattlesnakes rattle. Must have been hundreds of rattlesnakes in there.
Oh yeah, that's there. In Phoenix and this whole area, they've got all these open mine pits, and that's become a big thing that people will either purposely put cars down in them if they're that big. Some people have died because they've been at night and they went down in them. When I was first hired on the fire department, they had one where they had to do a body recovery and get a guy out of one of them.
Boy,
yeah,
he must have been in the snakes.
He was in the snakes. Makes me think of Indiana Jones and one of those movies where they have all the snakes in there. So pretty crazy to come full circle. And that proving grounds is really no more. And now it's, it's all houses. Everything in this valley is turning into a house, or, at least they're setting, like those mountains are setting that aside so people can enjoy that from a recreation perspective.
A lot of retired GM fellows live at Paradise Valley.
Oh, it's a beautiful area.
Is it?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, I would say from the proving grounds, you're more into Phoenix, and it's kind of in a central Phoenix area, and there's a few little hills there, one called Camelback. It looks like a camel. And so there's it's expensive though. You got to, hopefully your GM stock did well for you and you were able to cash out at a certain, because it's, there's definitely some $1 million homes up in that area.
I don't know whether my fellows have that or not.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I just hope that GM, it's a hard battle. I think about it, and we have all these people who grew up driving Chevrolet GM trucks, and now you get people that are switching over to Toyota. I think Toyota's a big one, and to think that people are buying Fords, which, we kind of joke with Ford and say, oh, Ford's nothing compared to Chevy and all that, but really the new Fords they're really nice.
Well, almost everything today in the auto industry is good.
Yeah, safe.
I don't know, pick one over the other.
Yeah, and I don't know what makes somebody, I feel like one of the biggest things, even kind of alluding back to our talks, is the design and styling. If somebody, it's no different than a good-looking woman. If they catch your eye and you like it and love it, then you say, oh, I'm gonna get to know this girl now. Well, and that's kind of how it is with these trucks and machinery. We look at it and we look at the styling, and I think that's kind of going back to what you guys did, the styling and the C10s are just so popular because they're so beautiful.
Yeah, they were good looking trucks.
Oh, yes, sir. And that's why we have a coloring book now full of good looking trucks. One of the questions I have for you, Paul, I wonder, I forgot to ask you last time, is what would be the insight on when in the factory, when they would write the numbers on the kind of on the cab. So on your firewall, some of the trucks have and even the cars, they have writing on there. Is that just something that the assembly line manager would put on there?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any idea what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure I can look that up online, but that was one of the questions I had for you was you see that. And then what people will do is they'll try to restore a truck, and then they'll kind of go in there and write, numbers on there. And you're like, well, that doesn't look original. And sometimes it is original if you find the right truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
80 years ago now, I graduated from GM Tech 80 years ago.
Well, let me do my math here. So that would have been, let's see here. So 70, 80, so 35 is when you started, right?
Yeah.
So 39, is that?
39.
Oh,
Graduated August 39.
August of 39. We're coming up on August here soon, and that'll be your 80-year anniversary. Now, do you still have any old certificates that you've kept along the way?
No, during World War II, I lost almost everything I had.
Just from moving around, or what happened?
Just from moving around.
What about that time where you went up to like New York and you were working for the Navy? What was that time like?
Well, I was in Hartford, Connecticut at Pratt & Whitney, and we were getting instructions on how to overhaul Pratt & Whitney engines. Gee, forget how many cubic inches now. There were about 2,700 cubic inches. They were good engines.
And you guys were kind of put to the task of just rebuilding them?
Yeah, rebuilding them, yeah.
Is that primarily what you did back in the war?
Yep. We went from there down and managed a new shop in San Juan, and we overhauled the Pratt & Whitney engines and Martin Mariner planes. We overhauled 200 engines a month and 13 planes a month.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was a pretty big operation. Nearly all Puerto Ricans, and just a few of us Navy fellows.
Now, when you look back and you look back at when you were actually, building, whether that was overhauling a motor or rebuilding a plane or even into your sail career, did you always enjoy using your hands and wrenching?
Oh yeah. No, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I often think sometimes where, like for you, your talent as an engineer, you became, an office, a chief engineer. And so you're doing more office work than any kind of building. And I think people have to go home and wrench in the garage a little bit to keep their sanity when they get to a position like that.
Yeah, we did a lot of handwork. We build engines in engineering. Yep, I miss a lot of that. Well, I was raised in a machine shop. My father had a small machine shop, so I was raised in it.
Those days are pretty crazy how the machines have come now to where it's all computerized.
Yep, everything's computerized. Do you have a dual rear wheels?
That one is single. My friend has the dual. I wish I had the dual just because I get a little too much sway going, but it works out pretty good.
When I first started using campers, we got broken wheels. We couldn't figure out what was going on for quite a while. We didn't realize people were putting campers on them. But boy, we sure run into wheels that we've been using for years. We're now breaking. Well, the weakness in the wheel was when they rolled the steel out, it formed a overlapping. And we had to get rid of that. So after we got rid of that, then we didn't have any more wheel problems.
So the metal was overlapping the other metal, and they were welding it together, and that created a weakness in between?
Yeah.
So once you made a solid roll piece, it strengthened it up?
Yeah.
What about those old, if you remember those tires that you would have to have the metal ring on it to keep it? Oh my God, those are dangerous.
Well, you bet they are. Come off one, they'll take your head off.
Oh my God. If I come across one of those, I won't even mess with it because I'll just take it to the scrapyard because that's dangerous.
It is really dangerous, yeah.
I got a truck from my wife's grandpa, and he had about 3 or 4 of those on there, and boy, I didn't even mess with it, and because it's like you talk about those rattlesnakes, it'll bite you.
Yeah.
It'll bite you. Another thing that's really kind of funny about the old crew cabs or the old Blazers, I know this isn't the engineering department, but is the old ashtrays. Having an ashtray in the back seat, or for me, because I grew up in a Blazer, we would always put our gum wrappers in there. But, both my parents did smoke, but most of the time the ashes ended up in the front, ashtray. But nowadays, thinking as the kids.
There's a lighter in there too.
Oh, yeah, in the back. Well, we still get lighters. We still see those. But to think, yeah, my truck's an 07 and it had a lighter in it. I don't know if the newer ones have lighters or not. I don't know if the brand new ones have that. But
I wouldn't think they'd have it.
Another thing, I can send you a picture of this, but what they do now, a guy makes, so because my truck goes up and down on airbags, there's a company called AccuAir, and they have a little remote control. Well, another guy fabricates a little spot in the ashtray, and it fits this little, almost kind of consider like a little iPhone, and it fits inside that little ashtray area. And now the ashtray has become more of a, I call it, in this circumstance, I call it an ACK tray because it's AccuAir. But you flip down the ashtray, and there's your little buttons to push to go up and down. And it's because we don't use the ashtray for ashes or, maybe besides change. So now it becomes one of those things where you can use it for that.
You have airbags on you?
Yeah, all four corners.
Did you put them on?
Yep.
Oh.
It makes it so I can go up and down. I can make my truck go pretty high if I need to get over something, or I can drop it down pretty low. I can drop it down really low.
Oh, you have a compressor?
2 compressors because it's such a big truck.
Yeah. Huh.
People come up with everything nowadays. Well, I'm glad you're feeling good. Anything else going on? No,
that's about it.
Okay. Well, let's check back in a few weeks and see how everything's doing.
Oh, okay, I'll be here.
Good luck. Good luck at your hurricane class.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Paul.
I'll see you.
I'll send you the coloring book.
Okay, good.
Okay, take care.
So long.